If me being a real estate agent is still good for our marriage and still serves our community, and I'm still able to love our kids, and it's not a complete drain on my morale, joy, and well-being, then I would like to stick with it because I do still enjoy it, and I like serving our clients and taking care of them and making sure that they're well protected.
This is The Agent Goldmine, where you'll find real talk, shit talk, and ambition. We're here to build real businesses and be more than your average agent. We want to know what the killers are actually doing within their businesses, the reality of it. All tactical, no fluff. So we're here to find out. Please share and enjoy.
Hey, Amy, welcome. We are so excited to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for coming and joining us and hanging out.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for letting me come by.
We're excited. And first, I want to talk about your stats. So, Amy Rogers at Amy Rogers Real Estate on Instagram. You are at Minot, North Dakota, because why not Minot? I'm sure everyone in the Air Force has heard of Minot, but you are killing it out there. So you do residential, you do commercial, you do the VA buyers and sellers, and you've been an agent for just shy of 2.5 years. And the total volume in 2.5 years, you've done 134 closings, which is just shy of 27 million in volume. And just in the last year, you've done 67 closings, almost 14 million in volume as a solo agent. So I super want to get into how you've done all of this as a solo agent out in Minot, where I don't think the prices are all that high. So you have a lot of secrets and we want you to share it with all of us. So let's start with right before real estate. Like, why even be a realtor?
I ask myself that a lot. Like, as we all do. We get those texts from those certain lenders or there's certain agents, and I'm like, why do I do this? I don't want to do this anymore. I started because we were investors first. My husband and I were investors first. We started buying and renovating and renting out houses in the midst of COVID because what else are you going to do? And then our favorite real estate agent, who is a military spouse, also her husband got orders. They PCS'd to beautiful New Mexico. If you guys need an agent in New Mexico, let me know. Her name's Breezy. She's the best. She left me and I didn't want anyone else. So she told me just to get my license. And so I did. I started the course in like January of 2021 and I had my first listing in March of 2021. So it was pretty fast and furious introduction to real estate. It was a great, fantastic, really smart time to join the business. But that's kind of what was the catalyst. Was I wanted to oversee my own transactions. And because I mean, of course, you want the control. You want to be comfortable with the agent who's representing you as an investor. You want somebody who's fast and who's going to be faster than me getting myself into the listings that I want to see. So that was really what started it. And then it was a natural, very quick progression into making it an actual career.
So your stats alone are super impressive. They're wildly impressive. And if I'm sitting there and I'm listening, I'm like, where did all of this business come from? Like, you had a listing. So you were licensed January 2021. You had your first listing in, you said March, I think. And
Yes.
You did a ton more after that. So where are you getting this business?
Well, the very first listing that I had was a referral from another agent out of state, which was really great. And then the second one, before I ever started flipping houses, or I guess renovating houses, I was flipping furniture. So I had this weird backlog of people I painted dressers for, and they were super ecstatic to support me in this new venture. So I got a couple of listings from there, a couple of buyers from there, and then I got word of mouth, lots of referrals initially. In that first full year from like March and following April, it was just me hounding people, convincing people that real estate was a great idea. And back then, convincing people to buy a house was a really easy thing to do because it just made so much sense. And the service that I was able to provide those first buyers and those first sellers was pretty great because it was such a fun time to start buying and selling real estate because interest rates were so low and the market was not quite as hot here as it was nationally.
Yeah. So that first listing that you had, it was a referral. Did you already know that agent prior to the referral coming in, or how did that work?
It was somebody that I already knew who had PCS
Okay.
to another state. So it was a $45,000 house.
Mhm. We all have to start somewhere. Yep.
And I had the buyer too. So yeah.
Oh, cool. Whoa. So your first listing, you represented the both sides.
Yes. How easy is that? The first few that I did, I had both sides, and it was so nice because I was able to go, oh, wow, I'm an idiot to myself.
Uh,
So it was really handy. It was super duper handy to just kind of ease into being a real estate agent with dual agency for the first few transactions.
yeah. Let's talk further about that. Which side would I mean, so obviously you had the listing side. How would you find that buyer? Like, talk about the process of connecting, finding the buyer for it as well.
Well, for the $45,000 house, I was an investor first, so we had investor contacts. So that one wasn't that wasn't a huge leap. And then a subsequent listing, it was just I knew how to sell the house because I knew so much about the house. And that's kind of a secret that you need to do your homework on all of the houses that you're showing, and you need to know the lot size, the dimensions, the setbacks, what kind of plumbing is it, cast, is it PVC, is it Ornford. You need to understand the ins and outs of these houses in order to represent the seller the best. And I had done way extensive amount of research to represent my seller well so I could communicate it to buying agent. But then when I happened to have a buyer and I was able to show the house, it was easy for me to know all of this information because I knew all of it to list the house. So I was able to show all of the highs and the lows of that house and of the particular listings that I already had. So it wasn't a huge cognitive leap to be able to necessarily, for lack of a better word, pitch it to a buyer.
Totally makes sense. I'm still on the where the leads came from. So to confirm, so we have you had a business beforehand where you were paying people, you had contacts from that. You were an investor first, so you have the knowledge that comes from that and the connections that come through that. So are you just at this point you got your license and you're just like calling everyone in your phone, or like are you on socials? What is your strategy to take these connections that you have and convert them into business?
Yeah. So I have to like rewind my brain. Back at the very, 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 very beginning, like 2021, just got my license. A lot of it was furniture people. But then when we were renovating houses and getting them ready to rent out, there was a lot of social media around that. So I have pictures of my kids painting houses, us ripping up furniture, and it was fun and it was sweet. And the name of our house business, all of our rentals, it's Yellow Door Homes. So we paint all of our doors yellow. So we had a lot of brand recognition just around the town. So that when people think houses, I've actually had people say, when I think houses, I think you. When I see a yellow door, I think you. So we had this weird brand that it was not intentional, that we accidentally became a slightly well known in our community for houses. There's other real estate agents who have been doing it longer, who spend more on advertising, who just don't have, when you think them, you still don't think about houses. You think about them on a boat, you think about them traveling. But I somehow managed to accidentally create a brand. When you think my name or you think houses, they're one and the same. And following that with the kind of permeating my sphere with I am houses, think me. Following that, I stumbled into what online leads, which I think every new agent falls into that trap of paying for online leads. And where I live, our town, from where I am based, it's 50,000 people. But then outside of it, it's just small town after small town after small town. There's maybe one house for sale a year. Pricing them is impossible because there's no comparables. It's just a complete disaster. But I wanted to start buying online leads. So I was like, okay, Zillow, let's do it. So I start to buy the online leads here in my town, 50,000 people. It's thousands of dollars. You get like 1.5 leads a month. You get 1.5 people to look at houses a single month. So I started looking further out and asking myself, how far am I willing to drive to show a house, basically? And I'm like, 2, maybe 3 hours. So I start looking beyond my small town And once I got further and further and further out, the leads are like $1. So at the end of it, from April of last year till December of last year, it started in April till December of last year, I spent between maybe maybe $300 a month on like some of the leads were $1, like dollar a zip code. So I owned half of the state. And I'm just driving around showing $12,000 houses that don't have a floor or roof or gutters or doors. And I call a listing agent, hey, where's the key? And they're like, we ain't worried about no key. Just walk right in type thing. And it was just an absolute hoot driving all over the state of North Dakota, showing these crappy houses. But in that amount of time from April till December, $200 to $300 a month I've spent, my GCI was 76,000. And the ROI on that, I don't know the math. I've just done it once and I was like, well, that's not a bad return. So that was a really big chunk it wasn't the big chunk of what I made. It was the big chunk of how I spent my time and how I just was able to get so many leads. And those leads, they have to buy houses. Those leads need to sell their current house. Those leads want to buy a second house. Because when you're selling a $12,000 house that's 3 miles away, not 3 miles, 3 hours away, like, why are you buying this $12,000 house? Oh, it's because you have a $3 million farm and you need a place for your workers to live. Oh, okay. These aren't necessarily people who are only buying that $12,000 house because that's all they can afford. It's somebody who's from a greater network that I was able to tap into that otherwise I would have never met these people. I would have never overlapped with these people at all. Yeah, I mean, there's a town called West Hope, North Dakota. It's very, very close to the Canada border. And I sold houses there but it was an opportunity to intersect with people that I otherwise would have never known.
Thank you for listening. Out of respect for your time, we want to make this show as valuable as possible for you. So if you have any feedback on how we can improve, please let us know. DM us at Allie the Agent and The Shelby Show.
I love this so much. The fact that you would drive 3 hours one way for $1 lead, agents do not want to do that. Therefore, you got so much business out of that because they automatically think, oh man, that price point's so low. It's going to be, 6 hours just there and back, when they could be, who knows what else they would be doing. But people say no to these opportunities because of the price point, because they already try to predict the future in their own head, saying the price point's low, my commission's not going to be high, and it's going to be a one and done deal when clearly it's not the case.
Right.
So
No,
I love that you're a yes person. Go ahead. Abe.
What's a hoot about how Zillow would set it up is all the for sale by owners always went to me. So
wow.
So they would think they were calling the homeowner and it was going to me because it says contact owner. And it's like, oh, look, they called me, suckers. And they always pin me. The sellers are happy to pay me. They're happy to have an agent show their house. I've never, not once, not had a seller for sale by owner not pay me 3%.
I have a question.
And
I was going to ask on the $12,000 house, do you negotiate more than 3%? Or are we like 3%? How does that work? If you feel comfortable. Some people before have been like, we don't talk commissions here. And I'm like, okay, fine. So up to you.
I'm just so happy to be included. I'm just happy to sell it. Because at the time when I first started, I don't pay that much attention to volume. I still don't pay that much attention to volume. I really was like, I'm going to focus on my sides. I'm going to focus on my number of sides because, okay, if I don't win in volume, that's fine. I want how many client relationships did I cultivate? How many homes did I make? How many houses did I turn into homes? What was I able to turn this into? Because if I'm just looking at volume, I'm going to lose, time and time again because we still have multi-million-dollar lake homes that I haven't tapped into yet. So like how those relationships are what I was focused on, and the sides is what I was focused on. So for that 12,000, it was a 3%er. It was a 3%er. But the agent on the other side was a fantastic story. But she appreciated me making the effort, and she remembers that. So whenever she's got a good listing, who does she send it to first? Who does she remember first? Does she remember that when I was up there for the final walkthrough and I brought the sign back so she didn't have to drive up there to get it? She remembers that. So if she's got a great listing that she knows is going to get multiple offers and it's going to go fast, she's going to slip it to me first. And those were also the relationships that early on I was focused on cultivating as well.
And that makes so much sense, like, especially since, and we haven't even gotten to what the future holds for you, but like, I've noticed a lot of times when people get into the industry, they're only thinking about the next day or week or month or even, 6 months. And in the way that you're able to value the relationship over the monetary reward in the long run, it will pay, tenfold. And I'm sure it already has, even in your experience, after year one.
Right. Absolutely. Looking at how we treat not just our clients, but how we just treat everyone out throughout the entire transaction, how we treat everyone when we're out in public, how you just put your best self on every day and try to treat people well. It does pay dividends, and you don't necessarily have to be as cutthroat as people think that you need to be in order to be successful in this business.
Totally makes sense. So you're out there and you are building these relationships. You're taking every opportunity, even the opportunities that other people don't want, and you're getting more and more business. So 2 different questions. You can choose which direction we go. My one question is, how are you keeping track of all these people in the relationships? Like, is there a CRM at play, or how are you doing that? Or how are you doing so much volume? Like, is there a transaction coordinator? What's the backend look like? So choose your destiny. Which route would you like to go?
I choose my own adventure, and neither one is good. It's just a train wreck. Every day is a dumpster fire. It's bad. It's really bad. I have used every CRM that was ever created, and none of them are bad. But it's just, am I going to use them? That was the thing. I'm about 92 years old. Technology just. How many questions did I ask you before we hit record? Like, how do I use this? Like, I don't know how to use any of this stuff. So the CRM thing was completely out of my depth. So I still have one. I got a call from someone the other day. It's like, hey, I got your email. I'm like, what email? I didn't send you an email. Oh, my CRM did. Okay, good. That's still going. That's a big no. And tracking the back end, I do not have a transaction coordinator. Our office does have somebody that I hand a steaming pile of dog poop to every single time I have a transaction under contract. I actually just got an email. She's like, I have the earnest money. Where's the offer? Like, oh, that's not usually how that goes. She's just, because they fix everything. I'm able to hand them, like, this is a bit of a disaster. Just bear with me through it. And we'll get to the end and it's going to be okay, because we're focused on taking care of the client and making sure they're well taken care of, and making sure my family's taken care of, making sure my community's taken care of. Some of the paperwork, I want to make sure that the other agents aren't picking up my slack, if there is any. So I do try to stay on top of everything, but I do have office staff that sometimes bears the brunt of some of my ineptitude.
Amy, you're hilarious. I have been cracking up behind the scenes. So with the TC stuff, how can you explain more about the back office? Do you have like one TC? How much do you pay them? And just a little bit more about that. At what point does it leave your hands and go to theirs?
You're just going to hate all of my answers today. You're just going to hate all of them. So our office, where my brokerage, we have 30 agents. My desk is underneath stairs. I hit my head every time I go into it. It's not an office. We store things.
Oh my
there.
God, you're like Harry Potter.
It is. They call it the Harry Potter closet. I mean, I hit my head every time I walk in there because I have to crawl underneath. It's a lot to take in. So we have 30 agents. We're the absolute best by multiple miles. And we have 2 office people who oversee all of our garbage. So I don't even have a designated TC. I have someone who is a babysitter. So, and she has to babysit all of our tomfoolery. And so I don't have good answers. It's just, my answer is join a brokerage with good office staff and they'll solve all your problems. Because yes, I would love to have a transaction coordinator. That would be great, but I don't. So I have a babysitter who says, what is this? And why does it look like this?
Half the time, that's what transaction coordinators do too.
Yeah.
Those poor souls. I'm like, y'all do not get paid enough.
Nope.
To deal with.
Nope.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. So the CRM is like, we do it sometimes, it's still there. And then we have the office manager, the babysitter. I totally agree with Allie. You were hilarious. So would you say that the primary focus of, what would you say the primary focus of like your day to day is? What do you do? What's your day?
I don't know if you can tell. I'm in my bedroom at home right now. I have 4 kids. We have 4 kids. My husband's active duty Air Force, so he's gone all the time, and we don't have childcare. We don't have daycare. So my day to day is trying to keep 4 humans alive and from killing each other. Priority number 1, and overseeing our investment properties. We have, I don't know how many doors. We have some doors. We have some properties. Whatever. We have tenants in them. This morning, I got a text asked me where the spigot was. I don't know. It's on the side of the house. Go find it. And then I'll delve into every single transaction. So every morning I go into my Dropbox files. I'll look at every single transaction. Like it's chaotic, but you get into a groove and you know where the holes are. So like look at every single transaction, see what holes need to be filled, touching with every single lender, harass the appraisers in the most nice way possible, follow up with home inspectors, go to home inspections. I still go to those. I try to be there for my clients for those. And that's the bulk of the day to day. And then at the end of the day, I will do showings starting from probably 5 p.m. until, if they're vacant properties, till 10 o'clock at night, because the sun's still up here in the summer months until 10 o'clock. So we're able to do showings well into the night. And that's pretty much the every single day.
And with that, you are also capturing it all on social media. So I think maybe, and I have not stalked you in your profile. I'm doing it right after this yellow door. I'm looking, but so in your list of what you do, totally makes sense, by the way. And you say it's chaos, but clearly there's a system behind, open up every file, check in, follow up. These are all like key things which have made you successful, I'm sure. And what I'm thinking is I'm like, oh, I don't see, how is she getting more business from this? But I assume, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, do you capture as you go, like document your journey on socials? And that's how, can you talk us through that?
I do a lot of the social media stuff, but I really just do the pretty stuff. I stopped doing as much with our home renovations because I was like, this may turn into a liability issue. No one needs to know how sausage is made. So that we don't do anything awful, but you don't need to show sausage. Sausage is perfectly legal. It's completely approved. So like we had a ceiling cave in on a house. No one needs to know that I have to rebuild this house. Like the raft, everything, the whole top of the house had to be ripped off and rebuilt. No one needs to know about that. So I do capture the pretty stuff because just like with everything, you need a few decades and several deaths before you really retell every good story in this business. The really good stuff, the juicy stuff that you want to talk about, you just can't until you have a lot of time has passed, because we've got some doozies, and I know you guys do too, that you will take to your grave or someone else's grave for sure.
Yeah, I had a couple stories that I thought I was going to take to the grave, and then Allie and I decided in our very first episodes that we were going to do a show moment, and we were going to lead from the front with sharing our most vulnerable moment. And it's not real estate related, but it's like literally something I intended. I should have been like you, let's let more time pass, take it to the grave. Instead, it's out on the internet, and now we don't even do the show moments anymore. So great.
I actually was like, I need to come up with one, but then as I'm going through them, I'm like, nope. It's like I need one that's harmless.
I have another question. So I have a feel for your day, I think. And when you mentioned a CRM that you kind of use, you also mentioned Dropbox. So like what are the tools or systems that you use within your business?
Yeah, so I did Brivity CRM, and I did a ton of Facebook ads with them, and those were actually pretty seamless. I did a lot of postcards with Brivity. Had my website with Brivity, and all that's still going somehow. I've canceled it 7 times, and it's still happening. I don't know what's happening. It's on autopilot over there. It's incredible. And then I did Follow Up Boss for a really long time, and I liked Follow Up Boss because it was so cost effective. and it was just dirt cheap, and it was so user friendly. It was very intuitive, and so I did like that about Follow Up Boss. But again, it was one of those things that if I'm busy and I'm not going to sit down and focus on learning it and figuring out how to optimize it, so that kind of fell by the wayside. And of course, I think everybody's tried Real Geeks, and it says that I have 16 leads that I never followed up with. I still can't figure out how to get to them. I'm 92. I'm telling you, I'm a dinosaur. I don't know how to use any of this. Dropbox is fantastic. And of course, DocuSign. People love .loop, but I'm a dinosaur. DocuSign makes sense to me. I don't know how anybody did a transaction before DocuSign. And of course, the Google Calendar. Every time I hear that notification, I'm like, oh no, what did I forget to do? It's just, and I have it to where it's that will notify me 30 minutes before it has to happen, 20 minutes before it has to happen. Because it's a small town, it takes me 15 minutes to get anywhere, so it works out well. But the Google Calendar, if it's not in my calendar, it's not happening.
I'm sure that Google Calendar, man, that notifies you at midnight saying, hey, you got to start driving to the next town over, the next state over. You got to go now.
You gotta go. You gotta go. It's true.
Dang, Amy, when are you going to get an assistant? You need an assistant.
I know. I just got off the phone. I have a coach. The very last thing he said was, you need to hire someone. But I don't know what area needs to be hired out. It's just identifying where my highest and best use is and how to find somebody to fill in the gaps. That's just part of it. That's part of the growth, is trying to identify and identifying. It's not identifying the role that needs to be filled. It's identifying the person first, and then you figure out how to use them. And it's just finding that person that can fill in all the gaps.
Yeah. Let's talk about this coach. Where'd you find them, and how long have you been with them?
Yeah. So his name's Justin. He's fantastic. He's super nice. So he's a coach with Tom Ferry. It's been very helpful with him in terms of he's really good at teaching me to treat my life like a business and my job like a business, as opposed to getting stuck in every single transaction. Because it's really easy to get stuck in the transactions and to forget that you are building something as opposed to just doing a job. And if you can grow your business, you can grow where you go. And it's been helpful to teach me what those next steps are and to identify what I need to do next. And to have somebody who is further along in the real estate agent journey to say, what do I do with this listing? How do I market it? What do I do with this? Like those specific things that you can't necessarily ask somebody in your market, because it's not in their interest to see you succeed.
Yeah. At what point did you realize that you wanted to get a coach? Because a lot of people, like myself, I mean, okay, a little bit of backstory. This is a totally selfish question. We have a ton of free coaches in our upline, whatever, with EXP. So in the very beginning, as I got into being an agent, I was listening to Tom Ferry podcasts, day in, day out. It helps a ton. And I was like, I'm going to go through every single episode. And if I'm not, and I did, and if I'm not making, X amount by the time I'm finished, if I don't have the income that I want, then I'm going to hire the coach. And I made the income that I wanted, plus, with the free coaches. And I'm like, but, it could also be beneficial. Anyway, at what point did you decide, what, yes, I need a coach? Was it from the very beginning? Did you go through multiple coaches? Because some people, it's personality. Some people don't vibe with everyone. So talk more about that.
Oh, yes. So I decided to get a coach because like I said, I'm at the biggest and the best brokerage in our market. And I'm underneath, I'm still number 3 at my brokerage somehow. So I'm number 3 in our market somehow. And I'm doing good. I'm like, dang it, I'll never win. But I watch the person who is the best. And that is the benefit of joining the biggest of the best, is because I will never be the biggest fish in our pond. But if I went anywhere else, I would be the biggest fish. I would have the biggest office. I would get the best parking spot. I get nothing. I'm underneath a flight of steps. And that's the benefit of joining the biggest and the best, is because I have access to this person. And she is the biggest and she is the best and she is the most respected. And I've done so many transactions with her and I've watched that, oh my crap, you are so good at your job. How do you do this? So, and she has this policy. She's like, I'll tell you anything you want to know because she knows that most agents won't do it. You can like, they just won't do it. Like I could tell any rookie agent, drive 3 hours, go show that to $12,000 house. And then maybe one day you'll be me. They still won't do it. So it doesn't really matter. And she did get a coach at one point. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And I did go through a couple of coaches and I landed on Justin not because of like shared values or shared life experience or even shared market, because he understood the importance of building a business. And that was the area where I needed work and didn't know that I needed it. And that's the problem with identifying the coach that's going to be a good fit is that you don't know what you need. You're not supposed to know what you need because we're all trying to figure out how to be better. We don't know how to make ourselves better. We're just wallowing in our own ineptitudes. So it was basically me just going through coaches because my first coach, he was an excellent fit in regards of value and lifestyle, but I don't need another me telling me what to do. I do that fine. I've got me. So that was a good fit with this coach. I've enjoyed him a ton. I don't know. I've just enjoyed him a ton. That's all I'll say. I liked my coach a lot.
Yo, real quick, this podcast is not free. Cost of admission is sharing with a buddy who'd benefit or throwing it on your Instagram story. Tag us, we'll reshare that shit. So I've never had like a Tom Ferry coach. And by the way, are you going to the Tom Ferry Summit thing that's happening at the end of this month, August something? Do you know
Dude,
what
I
I'm
don't
talking
go anywhere. I don't
about? Oh,
do
you don't?
play.
Oh,
I don't
because before
do
the
stuff.
kids.
It sounds great. I hope everybody has a great time and they're safe, but
The
go
gremlin.
anywhere?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Just
I
rubbing
live under a
salt
bridge. Yeah.
in or under stairs. One or the
Yes,
other.
there.
Allie and I are going really, she's been planning on it. Mine was impromptu, but the Tom Ferry Summit, is that what it's called, Allie? Is it, yes? No? Yes. Okay. Anyway,
Yes.
we're going to get roomy. Okay.
I did a
But,
text yesterday. Yeah. I've been planning on going. Someone else in our 5 Pillars community was like, hey, I have a ticket for like super cheap. So I'm going. Someone else in my downline is going. And we've been planning on this for like months, right? And then Shelby hits me with a text yesterday saying, I think I'm going to go too. Let's room together. I'm like, done, Shelby. Come on over.
Dude, perfect. I love how go with the flow with you. Like, you're just like, yeah, sure, of course. And so, but anyway, I'm curious more about like, I have never been like the Tom Ferry fangirl. Like, I hear about it from agents, but I don't know. So, like, what does it look like to have a Tom Ferry coach? Do you guys meet like once a week for an hour, or like what is the cadence?
So we do meet twice a month, or I guess every other week. And it's mostly just identifying what is wrong with me. It's counseling. It's a therapist. And how to improve upon it and areas where, he's in a completely different market. And in my market, what works here would never work anywhere else, ever. And what works where he is might work here because we are about 100 years behind everyone else. We're just chill. We're chill. We're not in a hurry to catch up. Leave us alone. So some of the tactics that he's used in his market, I've tried to implement here. A lot of online stuff he's wanted me to focus on. It's just, it's embarrassing, some of the stuff that he's had to teach me how to do. Like, I just don't know how to do anything on a computer. He's like, okay, let me share my screen. And he had to teach me how to do Instagram stories. He had to teach me the difference between stories and reels. It was bad, guys. It was so bad. And that's not necessarily what a coach is supposed to do. But he's like, okay, you need to build your internet presence at the beginning of the coaching. So that was a fair amount of chunk of it. It's just kind of like, let's build your internet presence because I hadn't cultivated anything that had longevity. It was cute and it was sweet, but it didn't have longevity in teaching and educating what my actual purpose was for a long term, because I would do it and then it would just die. And that was the end of it. So a lot of it was trying to teach me how to do that. But the Tom Ferry ecosystem and all like the podcasts and stuff, it's incredibly beneficial to immerse yourself and educate yourself outside of your market. in those skills, but you still have to completely understand everything in your market and also do all of that. And also what everything that Tom Ferry says to do and everything Aaron says to do. You have to do all of this stuff that you learn. And there's only so many hours of the day.
Of course, some things are always going to work in other markets that you can't always replicate exactly in yours, but sometimes you can take like a chunk of it or like start something which is still different from what other agents are doing in your market already. I know that the people that are in Tom Ferry coaching within our community, I am picking their brain all the time. Like, hey, Jason, what'd you learn today? And it's like a super big help. So, okay, you mentioned that your husband is active duty Air Force. What's going to happen in the future when he PCSs? How are you going to take your business and move elsewhere? Because a lot of agents don't have to deal with this. Like a lot of agents are like, they're in Tucson, they're in Minot, North Dakota forever. You're not that way. So how are you going to start over somewhere else?
Right. So I ruined my husband's career, basically. I just torpedoed it. So if you've ever visited Minot, North Dakota, or if you ever get to, you won't visit here. You guys, you're too good for here. But
I spent months at Grand Forks. How far away is that again from I was the commander for a while at Grand Forks. Yeah.
She services that area.
There you go. I service that. I sold a house out there. $500 mobile home. So I broke my husband's career. We moved to Minot, North Dakota 6.5 years ago. We were only supposed to be here 3 years. And then we were supposed to go to F.E. Warren in Wyoming. And then from there, back to California or Louisiana. And if you ever step foot in Minot, North Dakota, you will instantly fall in love. This is heaven on earth. There is no better place. Seriously, I am not exaggerating. This is absolute happiness, rainbows and sunshine all day, every day. Yes, it's negative 55 and the air will kill you 9 months out of the year. But it is the best place I have ever lived. And we've lived like 7 bases before here. So it's not like this was the only place we lived. We lived a lot of places. And the second we got here, it was the blizzard and someone showed up with cookies, like Christmas cookies. It made no sense. It's just, this is just the best place. The people are phenomenal. The landscape is gorgeous. The summers are fantastic. So when our 3 years were up, we have a child with special needs and he was getting fantastic services. The schools are top notch. Not allowed to say that as a real estate agent, but he was getting taken care of so well and we were being loved so well that we were like, okay, we can extend for 3 more years. Okay. It's called 3 + 3. We'll stay here. Okay. And then those 3 years were up and I'm like, well, about that. So my husband found a way to stay here and he just torpedoed his career for our family so we could stay here.
Wow. I love so much of that. One, to like your husband being able to, I'm assuming, take a lateral assignment in order for the family, like for the happiness of the family. You are one of the first, maybe like you're the second person that's ever spoken good things about Minot. Because for those that don't know, that like if you're not in the Air Force, you don't know the running joke. Like there's always in every service, there's that one base that no one wants to go to. And for the Air Force, that's Minot, North Dakota. But usually whenever people don't want to go to a location, somehow it always happens where the people there are good. Like the community is good, but the environment sucks. But you like both. And that's so amazing, especially with your career as a realtor. So I love that. You don't even have to worry about moving. You're going to be there forever. I love it.
There's days because my husband liked when we lived in Las Vegas. He likes golfing when it's 120 degrees. I like jeans and boots and coats and hats and scarves, gloves. I don't want anyone to see me. I want to be completely covered. You can see my eyeballs. That's what I want, and I love it here. And my poor husband just spoils me to oblivion. And it's upsetting. I know there's days when he's at work and he's like, "Oh wow, I'm still doing this job," because that's not how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to move. You're supposed to progress. And he took one for the family, and now we get to stay here forever.
And so many times it's the other way around.
Yeah.
When like the spouse is the realtor, their career has to suffer. But I love seeing that this is the opposite in your case, where your career is driving your relationship.
Well, the kids are, but my husband's also a saint. There's no one better. So poor guy.
Okay, so what is that? You guys get to stay there forever. Does that mean that real estate agent life is forever for you? Or like, what is, I know you're working on building a business. What does the future hold looking ahead?
Minot is my future, and our kids are our future. Our family is our future. Whatever best way I can serve our family and our community, if that's in real estate, then I'll stick with it. A question that we've always asked ourselves, my husband and I, before we take an assignment, take a move, take a promotion, take a job opportunity is this good for our marriage? We don't say, is it good for our family? Is it good for our kids? Is it good for our marriage? And that's always an easier question to identify. And if me being a real estate agent is still good for our marriage and still serves our community, and I'm still able to love our kids, and it's not a complete drain on my morale, joy, and well-being, then I would like to stick with it, because I do still enjoy it, and I like serving my clients and taking care of them and making sure that they're well protected.
I love that. That's what a good question, because if your marriage is at its peak, then the rest will fall into place, So I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
And I love Cody Sanchez. I follow her a ton, and she says that, marriage is a superpower. So that's something that I agree with, because if you have a marriage that isn't strong and isn't built on the right values, then it doesn't matter how good you are at anything else.
Yeah. Amy, this has been so fun. I haven't laughed this much during a podcast that we've recorded and all ever. So I love this.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. As we go into our wrap-up questions, I first want to ask you, what parting words do you have that you want to share with other agents that are listening?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So something that I very much agree with and believe, especially in something I've really focused on, especially as a real estate investor and an agent, is if you're not happy doing a job, you'll never be satisfied with any amount of money. So it's not necessarily the money that I'm working for, because I will never be satisfied with it if the job intrinsically doesn't have any kind of value or joy. And that's something that I tell myself every day, especially as an investor, because it doesn't necessarily make much money on the front end. And then as a brand new agent, it is just don't say no. Every single opportunity is a yes. 120,000%. Just say yes to every single thing that comes its way, because you don't know what that's going to turn into. I had somebody who was out of town, an agent, call me and say, hey, can you show this for me? Sure, no problem. She said, client's yours. Didn't lead with client is yours. Just like, hey, can you do me a solid? 100% client's yours. They made the offer. We closed. I sent her a referral. No big deal. But you don't know what it's going to turn into. The transaction lasted 5 days from showing to close. That's all it took. And client is yours. Because she's like, I'm not going to be back in the next 5 days. I know it's going to go fast. And she wanted the person who was going to say yes. And the person who said no, maybe somebody said no before me. I was the one who got paid. I was the one who was slightly inconvenienced. So you can't say no to these opportunities. And boundaries are for top producers, not for new agents.
Apple listeners, this short pause is to ask you for a review. Here's how to do it. Back out of the specific episode, go to the page where you see all the episodes, scroll down, keep scrolling. Perfect. Now tap those 5 stars. Thank you so much. Back to the show.
Preach. I love that so freaking much. Like, in the beginning, take every opportunity. Because, what else are they doing that's better than the opportunity to learn or help someone or build a relationship? So,
right. Yep, absolutely.
Dude, crushing. Love the last line. I'm pumped up. I'm sweating a little bit. Just how I like to be. And for our wrap up, Amy, question 1. What is your favorite app or tool? Grandma.
Oh, gosh. I use the calculator so much. And the weather app. Oh, man, those things. I don't have very many handy tools. It's definitely the Google Calendar. Sorry, it's not fancy. I know you've got people on this podcast they got such good answers to that question. I am not one of them.
No, that's totally fine. Mine was also Google Calendar. Like I love Google. It doesn't have to be complex or something fancy or the newest thing. It's what works for you in your business. So I love that answer. How can people help you in your business? And actually, if you can name, obviously for those listening, if you have any Air Force affiliation or if you know of anybody PCSing to Minot, North Dakota, reach out to Amy Rogers. We're going to share her Instagram link in a second, or the handle. Aside from referrals, how else can we help you in your business?
Online engagement. You know, if you want to see a 92-year-old a dinosaur do Instagram reels, holy cow, they're so bad. I'm just trying, guys. You know, just give me a heart. Just a little heart, even if it's a, oh, that was bad heart. Just give me a heart. Just a thumbs up and a good job. Oh, she tried. She tried so hard.
We love a sympathy heart.
There you go.
Perfect. Okay, and that you guys can find and give her the sympathy hearts, likes, comments, engagement out the wazoo at Amy Rogers Real Estate on Instagram. Amy, is there anywhere else you would like to direct people to find you?
Facebook, same handle, Amy Rogers Real Estate. I'm very creative with my handles.
Yeah. And what other cities do you still work aside from Minot? Do you work other surrounding ones that you want to spit out here?
There's not cities anyone's
Perhaps
heard
like
of.
South Dakota, Illinois. I don't know where else you go.
Oh, it's just every tiny town that surrounds Minot. Minot Air Force Base, obviously. The towns surround that because it's 20 minutes north of Minot. So all the tiny towns that surround here, Surrey, Burlington, Berthold, Glenburn, you know,
Cool.
Plaza, Rowlett, I don't know, all those places. They're beautiful.
Awesome. Yes. So you reach out to Amy directly. She loves the location. So what better person to talk to for real estate advice than Amy? So thank you so much for being on the show, Amy. And for those that haven't already followed us or rated this podcast, given us a review, please do so. And hit us up with your feedback about this podcast, how we can improve, how Shelby and I can improve, who else you want on the show. So hit us up at Allie the Agent on Instagram. We're also, and Shelby's The Shelby Show. I was going to say, we're also The Shelby Show. So that is it for today. Thank you so much. This is the Agent Goldmine. And for everyone that hasn't already go.
Thanks so much for listening, dude. If you want the golden nugget that this guest provided, see the show notes or just go straight to theagentgoldmine.com. That's where we keep all our resources for you. Till next time.